Excellent timing on that notification.
And away we go.
It's on!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Disney Parks Talk Live. I am not Doobie. I'm not Tony. I'm your fourth stringer here. I'm Benji.
Are you Rebecca?
No.
Are you Lee?
Man of importance at Laughing Place. Unless anyone wants to get paid. But we are here with Mike, lead Southern California reporter, amongst other things at Laughing Place, lead Central Florida reporter, Jeremiah, and Jeffrey.
Gio's here too.
Sing along with me now. 1, 2, 3. Hey, howdy, hey. Saying nice and loud and tall and proud. Hey, howdy, hey. You could say howdy, partner. If that's okay. We're gonna talk about Disney theme parks. So I'm gonna pick a number between 1 and 33, and I'm gonna have Mike guess, and I'm gonna have Jeremiah guess, and whoever's closest is gonna start. We're gonna start with it.
I'll say 23.
I'll go to the top and say 33.
Oh, it was 4. So we're gonna start with Mike and Disneyland. So obviously the parks are still closed. We haven't gotten a lot of information about what opening is going to look like for them. Still waiting on tickets, still waiting on hotel reservations, still waiting on a whole lot of things. But we did get word that when Blue Bayou reopens, which is not going to reopen with the park, but at some point in the future, it's going to sell alcohol.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, I feel like this would have been big news a few years ago, but with everything that's happened, and we've kind of gotten used to the idea of some alcohol being available in Disneyland, so now it just feels like, yeah, that makes sense. We're going to have alcohol at the Blue Bayou.
Yeah, when the seal was kind of popped with Galaxy's Edge, it kind of felt like something like this was inevitable because, Jeremiah, they've started serving alcohol at Magic Kingdom at sit-down locations for a while. Limited menu, but still. So I will say it's weird to think of it as like, usually when they did at Magic Kingdom, they tried to make it super classy, like, oh, French wine and be our guest. But when they're talking about New Orleans style hurricanes, it's a little different to me. To be clear, though, it's not like they're going to have food and wine style kiosks or anything like that. But it used to be one of those fun facts everyone would say that's like Club 33 is the only place you can get alcohol at Disneyland. And probably pretty quickly that's just going to become a non-fact.
I would like to have the rum Dole Whips at the Tropical Hideaway. That would be my one additional request on top of this.
I don't think that they're going to go for any of the outdoor stuff. I was just thinking, I was like, do you think that the French Quarter, the marketplace, would have anything? I was like, no, I think they'll keep it just on the inside because that way they can control it, as opposed to Universal where you can just pretty much buy anywhere and walk around.
Yeah, and I could see it at like Cafe Orleans or not French Market, but Riverbell Terrace, where it's a sit-down location. Yeah. They serve you no to-go, right? Like you can put it in a cup. Because once you start having people walk around with alcohol, that really changes things. But, I mean, I think when you're isolated and having a drink, granted, this is coming from a guy who, like, almost never drinks. But, I understand it's different. As Jeffrey's right here, it's a sit-down restaurant with limitations is different than a quick service walking around with a beer in your hand. I mean, I remember when California Adventure opened, they had different color cups. If you had a green cup, you could take the alcohol and walk around the park. If you had a red cup, you had to drink it in the location. It was based on the different alcohol licenses the park had.
And now it's a free for all.
Yeah, and I think I would say if you go to Epcot during food and wine, things get out of control. But I think we've learned that for the most part, guests are pretty responsible. But it's it is not going to be like California Adventure during food and wine, even where you're going to walk up and get a wine pairing with some overpriced sample size piece of food. Mike, Laura, she says hi.
Hi, Laurie Jean. Yeah, I want to say I'm also somebody who drinks very rarely, but I have now been tipsy inside of Disneyland thanks to Oga's Cantina, as Jeremiah will attest. I'm a huge lightweight, so one yub nub had me forgetting my souvenir mug and having to go back. But yeah, looking forward to that happening again, I guess.
See, to me, it's like I don't drink, but when I do, you definitely lose a little bit of control of your faculties. And I love Disneyland. I don't want to lose any sort of sensory moment due to a beverage.
Well, Benji, I know you and I both were at Disneyland in the old days where they'd have the mix-ins and you'd always stick around in the park and there'd be alcohol all over the place and you'd see families or not families, but usually the business people walking around drinking and tipsy. So that was never one of my favorite things other than getting on the rides with no wait.
Well, I used to like the press events where they would serve alcohol, and it was great to get executives to speak off the record because they would be more honest than they probably should have been. But hi, Amy.
I'm interested in going to San Francisco for $49 now.
Oh yeah, well, this episode of now we're presented by I don't know, cute dog. Okay.
Pet info.
So
as an addendum, I kind of want to say that I got my first COVID shot over the weekend. So by the time Disneyland's open, I'm going to be all vaxxed up.
Well, speaking of Disneyland being in vaccination, they're now in the orange tier, Orange County. So that concern about opening at 15% capacity ended up being a whole moot point. So they're going to be able to open at 25% capacity. And there's word that the governor may even make it easier to progress into further tiers. So they may even be able to open up at 35% capacity by the time we get to the end of April. Who knows? But that's the way it's tracking. So, I think just this, obviously Florida's been open forever, but when Mike and I were we actually all were recently in Southern California, and you definitely get the feeling that the grip is loosening and people are feeling a lot more comfortable. Not giving value judgment either way because that's a personal choice, but movie theaters are opening up. Even just look at the box office of Godzilla versus Kong. It's things are starting to become a little bit more normal in terms of entertainment time.
Something kind of branching off this, I don't think we had it on the list, but Florida, the Orange County, the mask restrictions, I don't know when it happened, but I was reading about it just a little bit ago. Buddy was saying that they may loosen the mask restrictions as early as June of this year when 50% of the population is vaccinated in Florida. So,
and I just want to be specific though, in that's for, general
Orange County. Yeah.
Right. So the parks themselves can still, as private property, can do whatever they want in terms of rules. So, it's a touchy subject in that people will hear Orange County has loosened restrictions, or Florida has loosened restrictions, but it doesn't mean Disney has loosened restrictions.
No,
eventually it will, but we don't know when or, don't get too excited yet.
No, I don't see. I want to say that there was a follow-up. Bob Chapek said something about probably through the end of the year we'll be keeping the mask on for safety. Which
and I think we don't really know what's going to happen, right? We don't know I gave up prognosticating last May, like I always felt like September was the time we'd get back to normal ish, right? Like,
No,
but then
November.
everything was started opening up a lot sooner than then. And I was like, oh, okay, things are exceeding. And then everything went back in the toilet. And then, and obviously we don't know completely until everyone's vaccinated how, we're going to get a number. There's going to be a lot of conversations on a weekly, daily basis. But we did get word, kind of bridging Disneyland and Disney World, that work has begun on the Magic Kingdom version of the Jungle Cruise for the cultural, the cultural modifications. So they said there's going to be some monkey business, and we got a new look of some concept art here with monkeys doing their business. No, not like that. And then it looks like Trader Sam has gone bye-bye. Let me see if I can find that. That's someplace.
Well, Trader Sam did, this morning we all woke up and it was a little less trader-ish in the world today. Sam has been removed from the Jungle Cruise here at the Magic Kingdom. I've not heard yes or no, but I have a feeling that Sam will be back in some form because, as I can attest to, the Jungle Cruise for the last, 15% is Jungle Cruise Trader Sam jokes. Today it was, I want to point out some of my favorites, flowers and plants. And that was it, like up until the curve when we're pulling in. So I feel that Sam will be making some return, especially since there are two very popular bars that are named after Trader Sam. It may not be the head salesman, aka of heads, but like in Tokyo, he trades his little jujus, and something could happen.
Yeah, because we don't know is the honest answer, but it's interesting that Trader Sam's, as in the two bars, lounges at Disneyland Disney World, are, as of this point, going to be staying Trader Sam's. So, there's ways they could go about it that, may not. There's different ways they could do it.
Well,
even a time when Trader Sam at Walt Disney World was not Trader Sam, right? He changed it to Chief Noni, I believe.
Chief Nami.
It went back to Sam at some point, but he is such an iconic part of that attraction.
Yeah.
And it's I don't have the answers, and it's obviously touchy waters, and I don't want to
don't touch the water.
I don't want to offend anyone, and but you balancing out the sort of having it be a fun attraction, but also trying to find ways to ensure it's inclusive is hard. And so I'm glad they're doing it and not me.
Yeah, one of the things, like jumping into my armchair Imagineer, Sam is the most difficult of the references along the Jungle Cruise to the headhunters or cannibal type thing, because he's a full animatronic with a full base, which if you go to our article you can see, but they kept everything else, including the skulls on the little canoe that could be removed in no time. So just going off of things we've seen in the past, they pull out the things that they need to put back the first, and it's the most difficult to change. So I think he'll be back before the ride is complete in October or whenever they expect it to be remonkified.
And so we do get this is obviously very specific to Walt Disney World, but Mobile Magic launched.
That's kind of how I felt today when I went into the Magic Kingdom. Mobile Magic is just as easy as Apple Pay or anything else. I mean, There's my Mobile Magic. You walk up to the sensor just like it says, you put it against the thing, and boom. You don't have to have your phone unlocked. Well, you didn't have to have your phone unlocked when I tried it a few days ago. Today, I had many different challenges, including the fact that they're like, no, you have to have it completely open. It's like, even in everything it says, you don't have to. But,
Right.
one day things always have problems. But yeah, it's very easy. You just open it, sign up if you're a pass holder, if you have tickets for the parks, and as long as you have a reservation, you walk up, you do it, and it's no problem.
I'm pleasantly surprised because they're not known for being good at this kind of thing. I've wanted this forever because I hate wearing a magic band and I have a phone and I don't know why I can't use it.
Yeah,
So does it work on all touch points? Like, like park entry over by Brown Derby? Like, does it work anywhere you need to use a touch point?
yes. As far as I've seen so far, I even walked up. I was doing one of the attractions, and I asked if I could just touch like the fast pass thing, and they just went right away. It went blue right away, but it still worked.
Interesting. I'm excited about this because and what's nice is it's like an express ticket, so like you don't even have to have a fully charged battery for it to work.
Yeah, your phone can be dead and it can still work because your phone always keeps some type of small charge, unless you turn it off for months. But yeah, I pulled out. You didn't even have to have your phone unlocked. Just walk up, blink, and you're in.
It's pretty cool. So that's we talked a little bit about the 50th anniversary in terms of Jungle Cruise's refurbishment. Hopes to be done before then, but we're getting a little bit more work on the castle. How's that looking?
It looks really nice. When I swung in the other day, it was during the day, so I couldn't get these pretty pictures, but all of the banners are up along the lower level, and you can see the spot above the clock has the crisscross back from it, where it was just purple for a while, and then they kind of got it back, and it's now gone a little bit more blue, but it looks really nice. Hopefully, with the stage done and everything, the entire castle will stand out, as the centerpiece without having to be purple or pink.
And that's not the only work they're doing. It's funny to think of this as being like big news, but they've done some work on the shop. So my understanding is the chapeau is closed, because they will be basically expanding the confectionery into there.
We haven't gotten a confirmation of that, but yeah, the chapeau, which is behind the confectionery, and even that further shop that's like the shop behind the confectionery was the chapeau, and then there was that other one way in the back that was still kind of chapeau-y. But
right.
The best thing is this area was built for the embroidery when they expanded the Mickey meet and greet, and that was where the main embroidery stuff was. And then it had been closed since the reopening. So the chapeau was the main embroidery spot. Now it's back over to the exit of the theater area where Mickey meet and greet and Tinkerbell meet and greet usually are. And
then the Main Street Cinema, which was the Art of Disney shop, is now the temporary home, presumably, for confectionery treats, sweets and treats, as they say.
And it's a great seating area.
Yeah, this one kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but I remember when it became the Art of Disney.
Yeah.
It used to be an attraction back in the day, and then it became a store, and at some point it was like, just the latest movie. Then they tried to class it up a little bit by making it Art of Disney, which I thought was nice. At least it was special, but we don't know what it's going to be permanently after the confectionery reopens. But the Art of Disney is now where in New Fantasyland, right?
Yes, Phil Holmes' shop.
So can I buy the Phil Holmes portrait now? Is that the way I
No,
understand it?
they don't have it print on demand either. Sorry. But yeah, they moved the candies in there. And if you scroll down to the bottom of this, the one really big interesting thing that came out of this is that wall is where the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom game was. So they're doing work to remove the portal, it looks like. Or at least they put up this wall where I wanted to see them open the door because it's only about 3 inches between the the front wall and the back wall. But yeah, all the art moved back to Bonjour in right next to Gaston's, and it's just your basic. They have the puzzles, they have some of the prints, they have the minifigures. It's really nice. You know, it actually kind of adds a little bit to that area instead of just having Beauty and the Beast stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that store was always so weird because there was never enough new Fantasyland merchandise to kind of fill it out.
Yeah.
I'm glad it has a reason to exist now. I mean, you know, for all those people that always say all Disney does is empty into the shop, that was basically the only new retail in all of New Fantasyland. But you know, it just wasn't a great location. I mean, it helps from placemaking. It makes that little Gaston square feel more like a square, but you know, it's nowhere near an attraction of any note.
No, it looks nice. It fills that area because it was closed and then it reopened for a short time before Christmas with just Beauty and the Beast stuff, which didn't make a lot of sense because it was Gaston and that and the storytelling and Be Our Guest. You know, Be Our Guest you can't get into unless you do the reservation time, and story time with Belle hasn't reopened yet either.
Speaking of addition by subtraction, actually, that we talked a little bit about Food and Wine and how it has a drinking problem, but it's coming back July 15th. I would say the big note here is that it's not Taste of Food and Wine. It is legitimately Food and Wine Festival.
Well, it's also going to be, what, 12 months this time?
Well, I presume holidays will still return. So
yeah, so, okay, we got 4.5 months as opposed to 2.5 months. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting that they announced this. This kind of really was just a non-story. It's like, okay, we're bringing food and wine back, but the big part was Flower and Garden runs through 4th of July weekend, and then Food and Wine starts the 15th of July. So as opposed to having that summer downtime in between festivals, which we've had in the past few years, it's going festival to festival right away, which, you know, Epcot will, hopefully by July 15th, we'll see maybe a nighttime show to keep people busy, maybe a play pavilion. Who knows what could come by that time. But
I can't imagine you'll see the play pavilion by July 15th.
It's all done. I mean, the outside is.
Yeah, it's literally an interactive. It's everything you shouldn't be having in a theme park all in one building.
Also, I appreciate this guy's hat that hasn't been sold in the park for, I can't remember how many years now.
So one thing, you know, I know we're used to the downtime, but one thing that the festival does have in a park that it adds social distance dining capacity, right? Because you're at a kiosk, you don't have to fit everyone 6 feet apart, and you know, and table service, and a lot of the quick service. At least last time I was there, still not, you know, a fair chunk hadn't reopened yet.
Yeah, it's mostly been the food booth from Taste of Festival of the Arts to Taste of Flower and Garden. The food booths have been filling up a lot of the missing spots needed for the restaurants that haven't reopened.
What do you take that they've dropped the Taste of moniker? Does that mean something to you?
I just think that they're expecting something more. I mean, the Taste moniker started with Food and Wine this past year because they didn't have all the food booths open. It was just a smaller version. Same with Festival of the Arts and same with Flower and Garden, where it's not everything has been full. And the one thing that did kind of strike me as you're not calling it Taste, but you haven't announced any of the entertainment. Like for the entertainment lineup, they still list Voice of Liberty, Mariachi Cobre, and the Jameters as that's all the entertainment you're getting right now. So I don't know if it was just a misprint or if they're just going to go, hey, we're doing this thing for 6 months. You're getting the full Food and Wine name.
Well, I think it gives them some flexibility because it is going to run for a fair while. So it could start as one thing and then sort of evolve into a more robust as the vaccines, you know, and maybe we'll have some very limited tasting experiences in the World Showplace.
The World Showplace Geo right now still has it has four of the booths for Flower and Garden. So, even in the before times, they didn't have much more than four booths in there.
What's interesting about World Showplace is it's still around, right? Like we had all sort of come to accept the fact that it was going to go away, and they were going to build this new event space. Well, now that new event space isn't happening, at least as of now. So they're using a place that, if this pandemic happened 3 months later, probably wouldn't even have existed.
Yeah, yeah, because it was kind of on the chopping block for as soon as I think 2020 ended, I would have probably guessed that we wouldn't have seen anything in the World Showplace, and they would have been transitioning.
So over the weekend, we did get a look at some new concept art, I guess is what you call it, of the new Wilderness Lodge rooms. And eventually they will pop up on this. But this follows the contemporary Polynesian. Maybe I'm missing one, but
well, it even goes like all-star movies and the art of animation, where it's kind of more of just the simplified look.
Yeah, and I'm of two minds on this, and either of you guys jump in, but as a regular hotel consumer, I like clean rooms. I like the simple look. I like the amenities of having 1800 power adapters where I need them. I think sometimes we get into a more ornate hotel room, it doesn't feel as modern. However, at Disney, you kind of expect a little bit, a themed environment. So, I could go both ways on it. I don't love that all the resorts are kind of going to us one look. I think the diversity of looks is going away a little bit. There's definitely like a guy who likes the style somewhere, or girl. But what do you guys think?
I think it's it's just like a Marriott or anything else. I mean, the one thing that I always loved, the two times that I stayed at the Fort Wilderness, was the bedposts that were wood looking and the theming in it. I mean, to me, I could look at this and go, is that Animal Kingdom? Is that Polynesian? I mean, other than Polynesian has lots of artwork, this to me is just another hotel room, not Disney.
Mike?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I think if I haven't spent a lot of time in the Walt Disney World hotels, but if I were to pay to stay in one of them, I would want the room to reflect the theme of the hotel. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Anything else we should talk about Walt Disney World before we head internationally, Jeremiah?
No, I think we hit everything. Let's go international.
Let's go international. So, I mean, just from our weekly, I don't watch the show, but presumably you do weekly Tokyo Disney Cute segment. So,
no, that's a segment we'll have to start adding in.
So look at these things. So there's the Forest Theater Popcorn Bucket, which is the new theater over at, I guess, Fantasyland. At Tokyo Disneyland, you got Jungle Cruise, Mickey being culturally sensitive, and it's a small one.
Yeah, those are cute. We should definitely start a cute section just dedicated to Tokyo Disney stuff.
It's hard because it's not even like I can't go there because I don't have time or money. I can't go there like legally, and it's very frustrating. Because those are adorable. The Beauty and the Beast ride I want to go on. I mean, look, you see Chip and Dale here? How cute! How cute!
Wait, which one's the Forest Theater?
It's new. It's the new theater they built as part of the, Beauty and the Beast edition. So just open to guests like April 1st.
I'll have to look at a map now because to me it's like Tomorrowland.
Yeah, it's on the border
Baymax.
of Tomorrowland and Fantasyland.
I do
It's the
love that big band beat. That's a cute one.
So the fun thing about Big Band Beat is every time I watch the show, I forget I'm in Tokyo because the performers all speak English because they're all American, at least the singers.
Yeah.
So you at the show ends and you're like, wait, I don't understand the exit announcement. Oh wait, I'm in Japan. And then this cute band concert popcorn bucket where you can see like it's a drum, but you can see the popcorn inside.
That I feel needs to come to DCA right away.
At the Not Silly Symphony Swings.
Yes.
And then it's a small world popcorn bucket where you have a little drawer where it reveals the little kids like the clock. So just kawaii stuff. Just unbelievable. Don't have a lot to share about this yet, but we will next week. Next time, by the next time you do the show, we'll have all the news. But Disneyland Paris, which is still closed and probably not opening in the near future, is announced they're going to do a virtual celebration for the 29th anniversary of the Disneyland Paris Resort. So he's going to talk to executives, including David Duffy, who you may know from Disney Imagineering, and the president of Disneyland Paris, Natasha Rafalski, I believe. I apologize. So stay tuned to us. We'll be having full coverage of it when they announce anything on next Monday. But my question to you is, do you now feel really old knowing that Disneyland Paris is 29 years old?
Oh, I felt really old already.
I feel really old when I was doing the math of going, oh, the 40th anniversary was 26 years ago of Disneyland. There you go.
So headed back domestically to some non-Disney parks, Universal Studios Florida, the one
Mardi Gras,
is extending Mardi Gras to May 2nd. So not only, so I always love Universal's Mardi Gras because Mardi Gras is supposed to commemorate the beginning of Lent, right? So your last big party before you do Lent, and then you abstain from certain things, and then Easter comes and Lent's over. Well, Universal just disregards that whole thing, goes through Fat Tuesday, all the way through Easter, and practically to Christmas. So,
not taste of Mardi Gras anymore.
It's the only thing it's missing is the concerts, right? And the parade, I guess.
The parade, all the floats are parked. They have been doing some live stuff, but not big name concerts. And we still have Busch Gardens and SeaWorld that's pulling in the big names like Sister Sledge and some of those huge concerts everybody wants to see. But Universal, they do an amazing job with their stuff. I want to say that they've probably come out ahead when it came to the Christmas stuff, and definitely this, where Disney kind of went, okay, we're going to do little things, but that'll be it. This, for the Christmas, they had you walk through one of the float buildings and you could see everything. And then, of course, with this, they have the floats just parked all around the park with people still throwing beads and all the food available. But sadly, the capacity of Universal is still small and has been hitting capacity almost every day for the past month now.
Yeah, what's interesting is that they do not do reservations.
Yeah,
which they can't do in Florida, which they have to do in California. So you don't know.
Why can't they do it in Florida?
Oh no, they can. They chose not to. They have to do it in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could. I mean, so I couldn't imagine. I mean, first of all, just going all the way there to find out it's at capacity. We're not talking New Year's Eve. We're talking like consistently.
The first time that I made the mistake of just going there, I pull up to the parking toll booth and they're like, "Oh, what are you here for? The city walk or the park?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to do the park." They're like, "No, you're not." And that was my full like, what? And they go, "Oh, it's a capacity." And I know that our founders have been experiencing some of that in their travels with Universal reaching capacity at different times of the day, but later in the day it reopens. I was just reading earlier that I believe it was yesterday or sometime this weekend when it was cooler, park hit capacity, but by the time the sun started going down, every ride was walk on. So I think it's Universal's definitely more of the local park because that's it's easier for the locals to go to Universal than Disney, especially right now. But on the flip side is it's easier, but it's easier for everybody to go, and that's why reservations aren't such a bad thing all the time.
In other Universal news, they opened up I guess 2 new stores. One new Universal, I guess, World of Disney type store, and then their Legacy store.
Yeah, the Universal Studio Store, which takes up pretty much where there used to be 4 different stores: the Fossil Store, the Pick Store, bathing suit store, and then there's one other one.
Did this replace the Fresh Produce?
Yes. Like as soon as you walked in City Walk and you turn right to go to Universal, that was where all that was.
That was the store where like I was like, if you ever got a guest star role on Golden Girls, you'd buy their outfit there.
Yes.
That's like pastel summer wear.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it totally was, and that's why I think it went the way of the dodo last year. And then the former Universal store, they renamed the Universal Legacy store, which to me makes absolutely no sense other than, really just appealing to the fanboys because they brought in some of the old props and ET, but it's all the merchandise that's been available in the parks for over a year. It started with the anniversary last year. One of the things that's unique in there is they actually have a POV of Velocicoaster going.
Oh.
Which I look forward to watching when I go to the store sometime this week.
So the store I'm reading, this is the studio store. Then the Legacy store. Okay, so I got to get my bearings because it's a little confusing because they launched 2 stores, both with the term Universal and store. So I have a question in this picture. Can you see this?
Where it says Universal Legacy Store, or
is the burnt out part supposed to be a tribute to the early days of Universal and nothing worked? Is
that's a palm tree?
Oh, okay.
In front of the store on each side, they have the old griffins that used to the entrance of Universal Studios Florida. Those were on the top of the pillars, and they brought in. I'm sure as we scroll down, you can see that there is an ET and Jurassic Park costumes. I know that Tony loves that there's a Jimmy Neutron costume.
It's funny because I went to Universal Studios Florida in '91, right? And so that was before they built the parking garages and all that. And I cannot remember anything about that visit.
No,
except the confrontation.
Yeah, and that's all this is just the appeal to us fanboys that have been drooling.
What is this? Is that a Decepticon?
Well, I think they said it's a Doom bot, but it doesn't look anything like a Doom bot in the comics.
No, it was. I'm sure Tony can correct this, but I believe it was one of the Doom bots from Doctor Doom's Fearfall, and they look nothing like anything in there. All of Marvel's Superhero Island was, hey, we have a theme, let's create our own stuff so we don't have to worry about paying that much licensing.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole idea of the Doom bots was that they look like Doctor Doom.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't do free fall back in the day, but is that a gremlin? What is that? Oh, is that?
It looks like Dobby.
Oh, from Harry Potter,
Isn't
from
it?
Universal's Rich Legacy.
Yes, that is Potter stuff from because Harry Potter and the Universal Legacy store.
Anything from the Ghostbusters show? There's a Ghostbusters
I
song
think that there was something.
right there. 'Cause that show made me realize I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah,
Oh, there's
there's
a
Back to the
hoverboard.
Future
Oh, it's fun.
costumes, tanks from Jaws, and I think a lot of it is just. And there's the fly pod that sat in one of the shops at the exit of horror makeup forever.
That
So
was my
really,
first attraction, and it scared the bejeebus out of me.
they just pulled everything from their storage, stuck it in there, and
Yeah, that's all it is, and that's fine. But I kind of wish Disney would do some of that too, like all the stuff that used to be in the prop shop before they built Galaxy's Edge.
yeah,
But looks fun. Oh,
Very
ET
deep.
going to horror nights.
Yeah.
I love this ET because we were talking about it on some other stream, but like it's supposed to be ET dressed as the ghost for Halloween. But the whole point of that costume was that you would believe it's Drew Barrymore, like when he's going out disguised as the ghost. But you can see through it, and you can tell it's ET underneath. I don't know.
Tony weighing in about his lack of knowledge. Yeah, well, it's a store, right? Jimmy
yeah.
Neutron.
There's the Jimmy Neutron that Tony is drooling over. Yeah, timeline stuff. It really is stuff that was in the prop shop that they never sold, and they're just like, okay, we can stick this in the store for theming for our legacy. And I mean, if you look at everything, and this is the same thing with Universal Hollywood and Disney, they have 5 different shops that
Oh,
they
that's cool.
just sell the same merchandise for. It's no longer unique, but at least this has models and some of the retro merch that has been floating around the parks for a while.
Yeah, at least it's something. It's weird that they opened up their new big store and then have the smaller store, which sells the same stuff as the big store except with props. But
Yeah.
So speaking of Universal, they might have had a little bit of ticket issues today. Was anyone following this on the internet?
Yeah, I was. So if you were an existing pass holder when the park shut down, today was the day where you could reserve a date to go back, or you could go on the preview date starting, was that the 14th or something? But as soon as everybody went on the website to get their reservations, everything was crashing. A few people that I know had a lot of trouble getting a reservation, and then I saw the Universal Twitter account saying that the website was working intermittently. So yeah, it's just the same issues that Disney was having for the Touch of Disney, which I hope they iron out by the time the Disneyland tickets go on sale.
Well, and what's interesting is, and you guys probably covered this last week, but I want to talk about it. It's opening with basically 1.5 new attractions.
Yeah, 1 and 3/4 new attractions.
So let's talk about Secret Life of Pets. You actually went inside the show building, right? Like
I've been through the queue. I've been through the queue of Secret Life of Pets, and I've been to the loading platform. They were gonna bring us on the ride, but they were working on it when we got in there. I would have done that ride if I had come at like a different time of that day for the media preview. But yeah, that'll theoretically be opening with the park.
And the outside is pretty cool. We went there for Taste of Universal, and there's a lot of neat details to the film. And it's kind of funny. It took that gothic corner where it used to be The Walking Dead and is now bright and sunny and puppy filled.
I love this whole. I like this idea that they can build this dark ride on the second level of a bunch of other stuff, because that really opens up the possibilities, especially at Universal Hollywood where there's not a ton of room. And from what I saw, they really went all out. I mean, even the queue has some animatronics in it and is pretty well themed. So I was pretty impressed with what I saw.
And then I don't understand what happened. So they just opened this Jurassic World ride, but
Yeah.
what happened?
So you and I went to the grand opening of that.
Yeah.
They had finished most of it, but they wanted to have this big climax with the Indominus Rex fighting the T Rex, I guess. But they only kind
Yeah.
of like half finished it, and they put in an animatronic up there that's meant to go in a different part of the ride until they finish this other animatronic. So now apparently that's all done. So you'll see the first Indominus animatronic earlier in the ride, and then when you get to the end, they're gonna have that big climax there before the big drop.
Yeah,
Okay.
as soon as you go up into the show building, it'll look, I don't want to say completely different, but the show will have definitely evolved. There you go, Tony. That one was for you.
I look forward to the future side by side video so I can figure out what happened.
Side by side, so I can do a new one for Jurassic out here. And then,
You bet Jurassic. Anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to theme parks around the world?
Well, I've still got 3.5 weeks till I can even possibly go to Disneyland, but tomorrow I'll be at Six Flags Magic Mountain, so we'll do a live stream from there.
Not to be confused with a theme park, but
Take that, Six Flags.
well, there goes our
I
sponsor.
mean, that's not a dig. It's an amusement park. It's not a theme park. What's the theme of Six Flags?
It's a roller coaster park.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I've been there maybe 5 or 6 times ever, and I've lived in LA for 20 plus years. So.
I grew up in Magic Mountain. I could tell you
so
history
much.
spots throughout that entire park. And don't go on Justice League expecting high expectations.
All right.
I've never done anything called Justice League except comic books with high expectations. I don't care who cut it. Alex went to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom the other day, and the highlight for me was you have to rent lockers. You can't go on any attractions with a bag, so you have to rent a locker. But the locker payment system was down, so you couldn't rent a locker. And so there's this sort of I guess quandary of how to go on the attraction with the bag because they forced you to put it in a paid locker, but you couldn't pay for the locker.
That's how SeaWorld and Busch Gardens are out here. Like, you have to rent a locker. At least Universal, it's still free.
Yeah, I'm okay with even renting the locker, but they need to work. And then
so pack light tomorrow is what you're saying.
and then he passed by a sign that said you can add a meal plan to your annual pass for however much for the rest of 2018. So
that's like when we went to Touch of Disney and we got the push notification or whatever that was like, upgrade your ticket to an annual pass.
Yeah, that's funny. Because what I like about the 2018 was that was like it's not like you can't even use pandemic as an excuse because that was like 2 years before the pandemic.
I enjoy that at the Touch of Disney, I guess at the games, they're giving out the 2020 annual pass buttons that nobody got, the 65th anniversary.
Well, I tell you, if you don't have a Disneyland annual pass 65th anniversary magnet, that means you haven't bought anything at the Disneyland Resort because I could wallpaper my house at this point. And we actually stopped saying like, no, we're okay.
I have one right there. I think I have one in a bag not too far. And I live in Florida.
Yeah, it got a little out of control. So speaking of theme parks, I just run through what we've got planned for the rest of the week. So Jeremiah, you were at Downtown Disney today, Disney Springs.
Yes.
You got me a bandana.
Yep. Did you get my cute video? I'm surprised we're not having to watch that.
I didn't think about it, but yes, I did get your cute video. Hang on.
Yeah, they're doing Pooch Perfect to promote the ABC show with Rebel Wilson. Don't hold that against the cute dogs. They have a whole catwalk.
Dog.
And people were...
Isn't Rebel Wilson like Walt Disney's niece or something? Remember that story?
So guess this was. I got there pretty close to when they finally opened it up because it was having some delays, and nobody knew what was going on. They had some cast members out going, "Oh yeah, you can get one of these cute bandanas if you walk the catwalk." So I walked around and walked down, and they had a camera set up, and it was a great edit. And if Benji gets it, I'll be very embarrassed. And then you walk off and you find the video, you send it to yourself, and then they give you the bandana. When I walked back about an hour and a half later, the email system was no longer working. You didn't have to walk the catwalk. They were just giving out the bandanas at that point. But sadly, as I was trying to get up there, I got smushed by like 3 different families walking and going, free bandanas. Nobody understood it was for animals.
There's a joke there that I'm not going to say. Because you did this too, but I mean, Mike, right? You did it in
Yeah.
like you
I
did
was
it.
gonna say, speaking of split screens, we gotta do one, but with me and Jeremiah's walk down the catwalk.
Nice.
Split screen.
Just send that over to Mike, Benji. He can take care of that.
Who we should do like who wore it best?
Well, it's definitely not me. I haven't seen Jeremiah's yet, but I wasn't looking really fashion show ready that day.
I did strike a couple of.
At least you did like a pose. I had no idea what to do.
I was literally the only person, like some kid, I think, found a wrong path to walk down, and the person behind was like, okay, just walk out and stop, and did nothing. So I'm like, walk up. I was like, okay, I'm doing this for a reason. So I'm like, sure, I'll do it. But yeah, then later on, as I walked past, they were having technical difficulties. They had stanchions everywhere, and nothing seemed to be working.
Oh, that's so sad.
Well, it worked fine at Century City. Only thing missing was Blue City.
Do we have any evidence of how things happened in Century City? As I try and elongate every word to vamp for the upload of said Century City experience. Here we go.
Release the hell!
You didn't have the before and after dogs, did you? Were
No,
those
I
there?
did, but they also they had the ramp going in front of the after dog. So as I'm coming out, you just see the handrails because safety.
Yep.
I just want to give a shout out to
Naya.
I apologize, Naya, if I'm not mispronouncing, but thank you so much. I'm glad you had a wonderful time at Walt Disney World. And I look forward to whatever mischief Tony causes for this. So, so where we go? So you were at Disney Springs today.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, Mike's going to be at the aforementioned
Magic Mountain.
Magic Mountain,
AKA
then,
Wally World.
where the fun never stops for $80 a pop. Jeremiah will be at Universal Studios on the 7th. Alex will be at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk on the 8th.
Hunting vampires.
And then on Friday, Jeremiah will be at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Jeremiah will be at Disney's Hollywood Studios on Friday?
That's what's on the schedule. Is that wrong?
No. Jeremiah will be at Disney's Hollywood Studios on Friday.
Oh, great. Okay, so as I said, and then next Monday we'll have the Disneyland Paris stream, which we'll have coverage of, and by the time this show happens, with its regular host, we'll have all that information to digest. So
Thanks, Gio.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I would have voted for you as well. So
share in the comments besides Jeff, what who won the Pooch Perfect catwalk? Is it catwalk or is it dog walk? Yeah,
that was my biggest question.
I think they did call it a dog walk in the promo stuff.
You can catch it at Pooch Perfect Tuesdays on ABC and the next day on Hulu. So thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to having Doobie and Rebecca back next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.